And so that means he's moving obstacles out of the way of the heirs. Now the heirs, according to law, must step up and proclaim. And they must be competent when they do it. Now, so they can talk stuff and they can start jumping through these hoops. And he's telling you what? It's not necessary. Why? Because it's created in fraud. Because you can't create an obligation on an instrument created in fraud. A thinking person would recognize that. A non-thinking person would go for it. That means you can't take a plastic candy apple and make it real just because somebody's willing to bite it and sign some papers to get a bite. It's not going to get real. If it's created in color, it remains in color. Which means no matter how frustrating it gets, if you're assigned to keep the plants, don't go put no water in them plants over there. Because they're plastic, which means they're colored. So when it deals with people, if you have people that say they're people of color, does a state or human rights apply to them? Use your intelligence, not emotion. So when people of color are exterminated for trying to claim to be somebody that they're not, like them other people during the Second World War that was doing that, will the world come to their aid? Are they in dishonor? What's the requirement for them claiming any estate? Like all other humans, mustn't they honor their mothers and their fathers? If they have not honored their mothers and fathers, can they invoke the common law? What is the basis of the common law? Your capacity to invoke, practice, demonstrate your association with the ancient traditions and customs of your ancient mothers and fathers from time immemorial. That's what constitutes the common law that trumps the Roman law, the canon law upon which that straw was constructed, and all other forms of civil law. And that's where the Europeans have gotten themselves in trouble, perfecting the UCCs and everything, and then getting the vouchers, and getting to the point of perfecting these operations, and the magistrates tell them, you can't use that Constitution as a defense, you're not a party to it. And this is where you see, just punch in your computer, wealthy, they'll say, you already know it's a misnomer, wealthy white Americans denounce their U.S. citizenship, go into other countries and nationalize. That's what Zuckerberg's partner did when Facebook went IPO, which you already know is a CIA platform for people to give information. They don't have to go out. Now they build a dossier right off of Facebook. That's why you don't do Facebook. If you're intelligent.
They told them.
It's a CIA platform.
Right, they told them that's what it was.
Yeah. I mean, we know that.
Yeah.
But we're talking about, you know, the lack of intelligence of the people for a lack of knowledge of real history and politics, where they keep doing things thinking they're going to get a benefit that's not going to happen. You know, free barbecue party. Man, the lines are long. We've been doing this for hours and nobody comes out the back. You know, I mean, they really don't get it. You start promising these people benefits and they start doing things. And so the Pope has got to tell them, there is no encumbrance. He's the Don, because they don't believe nobody else. All right, so that's what we have there.
Well,
they're
waiting for the potato salad. That's what they're waiting for.
Say it again?
They're waiting for the potato salad.
Oh, yeah.
That's why they go back and they bring out the potato salad, you know, for ribs and stuff.
Now, King Alfred, right? All right, so here's the military.
Do you get your place?
What place?
In Chester?
Oh.
Building?
We didn't move right along.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, let me go down about 75. Anyway, let's look at this for a second. I want to show you the closeout. This is let's deal with 13, 14. like we know other regencies, etc., and we know the so-called colored institutions are all infiltrated, right? So let's go with the executive order 1149 out. These are what, and we know all organizations are, the ones that are unnamed anyway. So infiltrated organizations under surveillance, right? Black Muslims, Student Non-Coordinating Committee, Congress of Racial Equality, Uhuru Movement, Group on Advanced Leadership, Freedom Now Party, United Black Nationals of America, the New Pan-African Movement, National Urban League, National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP, Committee on Racial and Religious Progress, etc. But let's note issues before the Department of Defense and the Attorney General. Because these is primal, because this is for like people who really don't understand this or what the Pope was talking about the institutionalization of peonage and slavery 150 years ago with the coup. Note, all at the appropriate time to be designated by the President. Now remember, the Pope already told you who he really is, foreign dignitary representing the United States Corporation Company. Forget what the masses think. So designated by the President, the leader of some of these organizations are to be detained only when it's clear that they cannot prevent the emergency. What emergency? Because they ain't going to have no jobs. Like them sisters went, that recently got so-called paid at the, what I think it was ShopRite or something like that. One of those things out there. Sure. And they went to cash their check and they got credit slips. They don't know what to do with it because they're not conscious of the real politics. That's test case. What's that? And when it accelerates, and then when these people go take that plastic card and put it in the machines and they go burp, then they're going to go out and protest, then they want to gas them. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
What are they supposed to do with them?
That's what these incinerators for.
I know, I said that.
Near the highways.
You said when they went to the ShopRite and got the...
They got checks. The usual thing, they get their checks and they go to
like
the banks and they so-called cash them and they give them Federal Reserve notes that they have been thinking is money, and that's their training.
I got you.
They went and got checks, went to the bank to cash them. The teller gave them credit slips. They didn't know what to do with them.
Right.
They're running all over the place trying to get remedy and don't even know, they don't know left from right. They're confused, frustrated, mad, and don't know what to do.
They don't ever go to Walmart. Walmart's big
What
part.
are credit slips? What are
I'm sorry.
Credit slips is no different than like this.
Right.
This is what has happened with a lot of wealthy Europeans.
Well, I never seen.
This has been happening, but when you start seeing it happen on what you call the common scale with the people, they get ready to do something big.
Okay.
But if you know the stuff, you know it's coming. That's why you're giving the information to prepare yourself and your families.
Yeah.
You're only given so much time. Because it's not just them. When heat comes under them from the Galactic Confederation and the Manchurian family, they've been released over 6 million perfected assassins on the planet. And they're starting to disappear bankers, middlemen.
Okay.
So they can't keep playing because they don't have the option.
What are the credit slips? I mean,
Credit slips is like this.
Like, I don't,
This is what happens. Do some research on, just type in, say go into Ben Fulford or Loren Murray or Jim Willies and type in wealthy white Americans go to bank or something like that, and they get credit slips and they get them their cash. And they get a credit slip to go to another bank to affirm that they have finance in this other bank, but they have no fiat.
So what do they do? Put that in their account or something? That credit slip?
No.
Well, you got to work off. You got to do letters of credit off your account if it has any
Well, you can
value.
go, or like I said, you can go on Walmart. A lot of people don't know that when Walmart first started up, they had another thing set up over there. They had the registers. They had another thing over here that for those who are supposed to know what Taj is teaching us now, that you could have went over and took your stuff and you could have signed.
This is what it is.
Right.
This is what you're saying.
And
This is what you're
everything
saying.
was paid for.
Right.
Look
Nobody
at this. This is
used
what
it.
you're saying. Look, this is what you're saying.
Nobody used it, so they just.
There you go.
Right, they did away with it.
There you go,
They
y'all.
did away with it.
There you go.
It was there.
I'm trying to figure it out. I've never
Right,
seen it.
right.
There you go. There you go.
Nobody knew. Just say it like we
Sir,
said.
I'm trying to listen.
There you go.
Me too.
Martial law. That's why they're closing their military camps. They got tunnels under them, most of your major ones. And as soon as they shut this stuff down, they're detention centers.
All right, now
And they're
Tom.
food feed centers.
Now you just
Yeah.
said a minute ago, right, that they were supposed to sign off, like they run off a letter of credit.
Yes.
Okay, so I sent a letter of credit to somebody the other day.
Yeah.
And then they just texted me yesterday saying, well, why can't you go to you run the money?
You already know they know you can't because it can only be done by
Back to
the
back.
Inquisitionists.
Right.
The Inquisition Revenue Service under the Vatican
But-
who controls the corporation and the estate, which is why the Pope did the letter. We went through the Pope's letter earlier.
Right, but they were asking me that. So that means they having problems.
Because they can't damn do it. Because only the bank can do it.
I was telling them that, it's bank to bank.
Yeah, but I'm just saying to you, they know it. But the deal, what you're doing, you're pushing them against the wall.
Okay, that's why.
Everything that is done, everything that is done
They're shutting the
with them.
They're shutting their printing press down.
No, I did
Yeah.
that letter right. They
But look-
have-
but
That's
look
not
at
what I'm
this.
saying. I'm
No,
saying
he
they're-
did it. He did
the
it.
reason they gave you that is because they're shutting the printing press. They're not going to keep on printing this.
No.
money
You know
like
what
they
I'm
do
saying.
tomorrow.
You know what I'm saying. No, I'm real
Yeah.
short. Going to I'm buying the property. We don't have to buy it, but I'm buying the property, giving them the benefit of the doubt. They said, okay, hey, make an offer. Made an offer. We met. I told them I want to create my own contract because I'm not a pro. I don't like the one they have. They said, okay, we agreed. I drafted the contract. Took me 2 weeks. Sent it in. They started having issues. I had certified cashier's check. They put wired funds. I put back certified cashier's check and backed up with their legislation that they wrote in 1933. They had a problem. It turned out the selling broker was the one that said that, not the title company. So they got issues. And then ultimately, one of the people on our team killed me thinking that I was losing. They were going to sign. So he said, letter of credit. Okay, I kept my mouth shut. We'll get a letter of credit. No problem. Called the emperor. I need a letter of credit. All right, here. Fix it up. All right, no problem. Fixed it up. And then sent it to him last Friday the 7th or the 8th, whatever. Yesterday, now they had 9 days. Okay?
That's too
Yesterday-
much, you know.
Yeah, 9 days to the Sunday. Yesterday, they texted me asking me to, if who's supposed to pay for this? Why can't you take it out? What? I just told you bank to bank.
But they no.
That's why he want to call me. He want to text me because I want to ram him. Forgive me. I'm just saying. That's all.
Okay, look, now, back to the Pope. They're rogue.
Yes. See,
So even when you come right, they're wrong. Now, but let's listen. Let's listen. So, the Grand Army of the Republic is recalled to act in favor of the people. Now, what did the Pope also say in his letter, which we'll go back to? He said, to suppress commercial mercenary forces on the land. So all these commercial venues and these commercial processes that they've been putting on the people will be suppressed. And he says, any damage to the people or the property, to true Americans, or on the land, he makes that distinction. He says, the International Monetary Fund and the Internal Revenue Services will be what? Their finance will be confiscated for reparations. It's the Pope. Now, point of it is, he's also telling you that there's a civil war going on. That's why he's talking about the Grand Army of the Republic. He didn't say Grand Army of the Democracy. That's the enemy. Understanding this, and even though we know this has to be qualified, and you hear a lot of Asiatics around the country talking big smack who don't understand this, why Trump has said in his controversy, he says, right after my inauguration, this is a message to Mr. Obama, to focus on to, pack your family, because you're leaving. He will be what? Exported, deported. Now, we know that's a can of worms, but we know where he's coming from and what he's talking about. However, he still doesn't understand, not that he doesn't, because that's a false statement, that he's dealing with the corporate entity and not the country, and he ain't American. But he's talking the sovereign national authority of exterminating or removing anybody that's been supporting this democracy order that is the foundation of the fraud. And so what he's talking about is nationalization. Now, point, is he a national? See, all these things you have to think about. You know, now, those who understand the real politics, what I just showed you, know where he's coming from, although he may be attempting to exercise powers that don't really belong to him. See, like you open up the can of worms, now you got to prove your nationality. Now, are you Al-Moroccan? I don't think so. And so while he's talking trash, which is understandable, they still trying to be sovereign that they ain't, aren't they?
Well, I put in my letters that they got to prove that they're not Moroccan, not subject to.
Now let's go again.
Okay,
Let's go again. Let's read this, and let's go again to the Secretary of State, 06, right? So look at this. At the appropriate time to be designated by the president, the leader of some of these organizations are to be detained only when it's clear they cannot prevent the emergency. Working with local police officials during the first critical hours, all other leaders are to be detained at once. Compiled list of minority leaders have been ready at the National Data Computer Center. It is necessary to use the minority leaders designated by the president in much the same manner in which we use minority members who are agents with central and federal. They're telling you that these leader guys are agents, but the masses don't know that, all right? And we cannot, until there is no alternative, reveal King Alfred in all its aspects. Minority members of Congress will be unseated at once. You all know why, but they won't know why, because they think that black's an identity. People of color's identity. Minorities, they're what? They're Christian property. They're chattels. They're tokens. They have no authority, never did. I'm going to call my black congressman and get this done. Them and you going in the concentration camp. You know what I mean?
The Kohler.
Minority members of Congress will be unseated at once. This move is not without precedent in American history. Attorney General. Preliminary member of the Department of Defense. And pay attention, this is where your so-called black leaders be talking about King Alfred plan, Rex 84 plan, but they stay away from this paragraph because it exposes them.
This is the letter
Here it is.
to Obama, right?
No, this is the King Alfred, Rex 84, Executive Order 11490. Countermeasure controlling minorities,
1982,
people like that.
1984.
1969 issue. Preliminary memo, Department of Defense. This memo is being submitted in lieu of a full report from the Joint Chiefs of Staff. That report is now in preparation. There will be many cities where the minority will be able to put into the street a superior number of people with a desperate and dangerous will, not unlike what you've seen in Philadelphia. It's going to get it in the larger scales. All right? He will be a formidable enemy. Why is he saying he's going to be a formidable enemy? Now look at this line. For he is bound to the continent by heritage. Does they say country?
No,
Continent by heritage. And knows that political asylum will not be available to him in other countries. The greatest concentration of minorities in the deep south, the eastern seaboard, the Great Lakes region, and the West Coast. So where these people think they're going to go to some other country, Africa and stuff that, and play that black African stuff, they got another thought coming. And it's the same thing that French Muslim schooled Malcolm when he went over that black stuff, and he says, y'all think Maghrib is Wednesday prayer. Maghrib is North America, Morocco, the most extreme West. You're left home. Don't just think because you made the Hajj, now you some Muslim coming home to Africa. Why do you think they keep building jails and killing you on the street? Because they can't deport you. And who keep promoting that crap? Your black leaders who are overseers, agents for what? Central and federal. And this is why other Asiatics don't have respect and don't like black people, because they're looked at as traitors.
Yep.
And as soon as you say that, they know who you are because they know you dishonor your mothers and your fathers. And they can't trust you. And then you always go to these wars, murdering women and children around the world to keep these Constantinians in power under the fake name of Christianity, then come back and always marching and praying because you ain't got no rights. Nobody likes black people. They're traitors and they're hypocrites.
That's right.
And their babies are dying younger and younger on the street. They sit around talking about salvation with their hypocritical selves and wonder why nobody likes them. But they forgot their history, so therefore they forgot their obligation to humanity. Nevertheless, the world ain't got to deal with that. And when they start cooking these people of color, when they start dying, they're going to hurry up, just like them other fakers, and they're going to hurry up and get a nationality, aren't they?
Ashkenazis.
Because only they are the heirs of the estate. But since they don't want to be themselves, which they have a right not to be themselves, they also have a right to be cooked. Because they're not going to take up space. And of course, you know, in King Alfred, you know, all the prisons are actually concentration camps.
The FEMA camps.
Oh, yes, they are.
Yep.
Now,
What happened to all the
so-
homeless people in the street?
who?
Weren't there homeless people in the city?
Oh, they disappeared them.
I mean,
They disappeared
you
them.
know,
They disappeared them.
you notice that?
They disappeared.
The stench was getting ridiculous anyway.
What's
They
that?
disappeared.
I have to approve
I'm
it.
telling you, they disappeared them.
What do you mean you had to approve it?
Because it was, you walk by there, the stench is terrible right now. It was worse when they were there.
And they're getting ready to deal with it in other cities too. And I'm telling you, they're going to disappear them. Because you already know that Homeland Security, the Patriot Act, is really the Nazi manifesto.
You said Nazi? Nazi?
It's the manifesto. It's the duplication of the manifesto. You don't have to keep on telling these people because they're getting ready to get it in spades. Starting with thinking they're going to get paid and they're going to get a credit check. They're going to get a credit slip and don't know what to do with it. Now, of course, you already know. Now, here's George. Here's George with his Masonic regalia, right? And he's standing on the squares of Asar and Set, right? And he got his tools, right? All right, he got his compass in the square, right? Got his carpenter's tools, right? All right. And Treaty of Peace and Friendship, right? 1787, right? Treaty of Peace and Friendship, 1787. Did Obama tell the people about the Treaty of Peace and Friendship? Huh? Did they acknowledge it? Did Michelle go to the Alhambra? Don't the people still want to be black? They're getting ready to be black permanently. This is what the Pope is trying to forestall so he won't be charged. You know the Pontius Pilate thing? Yeah, it's like you say, deniability. See, because they know what's coming. Now, these so-called black leaders are going to be responsible. They're the Judas factor for a few pieces of silver. That's a 501c3 agreement they made with Johnson, going there Negro marching and keep over a lot of guys who are 32 Freemasons pretending they don't know who the Moors are while they got a Moorish feds in secret and getting comfortable jobs and all that sort of stuff. Well, they're going to be unseated too. They're going to be some of the first ones getting cooked.
Well, they can't cook them all. I gotta hang
Well, they're going to, if you don't go to King Alfred, they're going to use vaporization techniques so they don't have to worry about the bones.
Yeah.
It's there, I mean, it's not hidden. Anyway, look at this. Great and magnanimous friend, since the date of the letter which the late Congress, by their president, So the first line, George Washington is telling you of the president before him. And yet the masses have been told that he was the first president, and he's already telling you of the president before him.
Yeah.
He's telling you of the existing government. So since the letter, date of the letter which the late Congress by their president addressed your Imperial Majesty, who he's talking the Queen of England? No, he's talking about the Emperor of Morocco. Address your Imperial Majesty, the United States of America have thought proper to change their government and institute a new one agreeable to the Constitution. Now you see where Obama talked about the American Constitution come from Muslim law? This is what he's telling the world when he went over there before the representatives of the different nation states. And then Michelle goes to the Alhambra. Those were signals. And institute a new one agreeable to the Constitution, of which I have the honor herewith to enclose a copy. The time necessarily employed in the arduous task and the disarrangements occasioned by so great though peaceable revolution will apologize and account for your Majesty's not having received those regularly advised marks of attention from the United States which the friendship and magnanimity of your conduct toward them afforded reason to expect. The United States having unanimously appointed me to supreme executive authority in this nation, as you see, he was appointed, he was not elected, he was appointed.
Right.
Your Majesty's letter of August the 17th, 1788, so immediately you understand this correspondence supersedes his appointment to office. By which reason of the dissolution of the late government remained unanswered had been delivered to me. I've also received the letters which your Imperial Majesty has been so kind as to write in favor of the United States to the Bashars of Tunis and Tripoli, and I present to you the sincere acknowledgments and thanks of the United States for this important mark of your friendship for them. We greatly regret the hostile disposition of those regencies toward this nation who have never injured them is not to be removed on terms of our power to comply with. In other words, they couldn't keep up with the taxes. Within our territories, there are no mines whether of gold or silver, and this young nation, just recovering from the waste and dissolution of a long war. Now remember when I showed you the picture of Hillary Clinton, keep that in mind, speaking from the Ben Franklin room, and with the preamble, you'll get some understanding of what you saw contemporarily. So long war have not yet as yet had time to acquire riches by agriculture and commerce, but our soil is bountiful and our people industrious, and we have reason to flatter ourselves that we shall gradually become useful to our friends. The encouragement with which your Majesty has been pleased generously to give to our commerce with your dominions, where do you think you're standing? Where do you think you're standing? Oh.
He said he was
Oh, where do you think you're standing? Now you see why they can't speak under that great seal on that note? Sovereign and subject. The encouragement with your Majesty has been pleased generously to give to our commerce with your dominions, the punctuality with which you have caused the treaty with us to be observed, and the just and generous measures taken in the case of Captain Proctor make a deep impression on the United States and confirm their respect for and attachment to your Imperial Majesty. So as you can see, the United States is what? A subordinate attachment of the Moroccan Empire. See the great Masonic secret? Now you understand why all people in power must be Masons and wear Moorish fez? And they take oaths of death trying to act like they don't know these people as Moors. Why do you think the Europeans, when they get tired of these people marching and praying, keep saying, why don't you go to your black leaders that keep selling you back into slavery and leave us the hell alone? Because they know your history and you don't know your own damn history. You talk about holder in due course and all this kind of stuff. You don't even know who the hell you are. Anyway, it gives me great pleasure to have the opportunity of assuring your Majesty that while I remain in the case of Captain Proctor, make a deep impression on the United States and confirm their respect for and attachment to your Imperial Majesty. So as you can see, the United States is what? A subordinate attachment of the Moroccan Empire. See the great Masonic secret? Now you understand why all people in power must be Masons and wear Moorish fez? And they take oaths of death trying to act like they don't know these people as Moors? Why do you think the Europeans, when they get tired of these people marching and praying, keep saying, why don't you go to your black leaders that keep selling you back into slavery and leave us the hell alone? Because they know your history and you don't know your own damn history. You talk about Holder in due course and all this kind of stuff. You don't even know who the hell you are. Anyway, it gives me great pleasure to have the opportunity of assuring your majesty that while I remain at the head of this nation, I shall not cease to promote every measure that may conduce to the friendship and harmony which so happily subsists between your empire and them, and shall esteem myself happy in every occasion of convincing your majesty of the high sense which in common with the whole nation I entertain the magnanimity, wisdom, and benevolence of your majesty. May the Almighty bless your imperial majesty, our great and magnanimous friend, with his constant guidance and protection, signed George Washington.
Well, where does it say that, where does it say that the United States is an appendage to us?
No, here you go. Hold on. You got to remember the time that this is written before the engineering, and the sellout, the corporate sellout, the coup of '61, the murder of Lincoln, and all that stuff, the creation of the straw man, the conversion of our estate as to back the U.S. corporate debt, which is why the Pope tells you what it is, so you don't have to figure it out anymore. You ain't got to jump through no hoops. He's telling you what it is. Now, the encouragement with which your majesty has been pleased generously to give to our commerce with your dominions, treaty of peace and friendship. The stars and stripes is a flag of amity and commerce. It's a banner. The national flag is the Al-Moroccan flag, the American flag, which is the red flag with the 5-pointed green star. This is why when you see in the book of genetics, when they talk about the theft of the birthright, they talk about the bowl of red pottage. These are symbols.
Okay, so the American flag isn't all red.
Yes, the American flag.
Okay, people keep saying, oh, it's all red. It's not.
Yeah, but I
got it
don't
on
care
your
what they
hat.
say.
No. I'm hearing.
It's got the star of Venus in it, and that's also the star of man.
Okay, understood.
That's the star of man. Now, we have what you call solid red flag. You have white flag with the gold star, ancient Moabite, and you have the Moorish flag, red flag with a 5-pointed green star. That's why Drew Ali told him to put the star back in when Coolidge got it out the safe. And when people are making them arguments, and I understand them arguments, what they're trying to do is divert. Remember, before this information was presented to people, they had nothing to say. Now that the knowledge of the estate has been turned back to these people, now they're trying to tell you what Islam is, what it is not, what the flag is, what it is not. Drew Ali said they didn't tell you anything before. Don't let them tell you anything now. They're COINTELPRO operatives for central and federal. What they're trying to make you do is disengage. You disengage, you're off the platform. This is why they did the brand system. You know, and this is again why, hold on. Hold on. I'm going to come out of this in a minute, and then I'm going to go into, let me see.
What's wrong? Confused about the rebel battle?
Our time wheels are just running.
No, I'm thinking because I got, these people I'm dealing with. That's all. I'm like, man.
They don't understand what's going on.
Now they understand. They just playing games. That's why
That death note.
That's why we're starting the lawsuit Monday. And we don't have to worry about doing negotiations anymore. We're just gonna start. I want that property to start sooner.
What I tell you 2 years ago.
Yeah, we just have to start. Just so the hell with it. That kind of
They
thing.
don't understand nothing else.
That's all it is, yeah. Litigation.
They're never going to give. They're thieves. And to get something back from the thief, you got to steal from the thief. Thief ain't going to say, well, I stole that from you. I know it's wrong. I'm giving it back to you. Nah, ain't how that shit works. You got to steal the shit back. When you sleep, you get him all drugged up. go back in there while he's asleep, get in his house, break his house, steal his shit, like he stole it from you. That's how you deal with a thief. Locks are made for honest people, not for thieves. Thieves gonna figure out how to get out, no matter what kind of lock you have.
But, you know, looking at what the Pope wrote in that letter, and, you know, right now you hear on the radio all this stuff about people that might go to IRS and, you know, make these deals.
Distraction.
And, all this
That's
stuff.
nothing but fiction.
That's all
There's
distraction.
two different things going on. That's the appendage running around. The IRS is the ledger for the IMF, International Monetary Fund.
Right.
That's all it is. And it's the fiction over here.
Yeah.
But the Moroccan Empire is right here. Here's the fiction. Here's the Moroccan Empire. And under the fiction is the United States. And here we are under the United States taking on the bullshit. We gotta get out from under the United States and get back to Morocco.
That's called wardship tenures.
Morocco, United States of America, United States.
In other words, the true heir must be named.
So you gotta go and you gotta pull
And this
it
is
out.
again where the Pope separates the United States minor from the United States major. And you must know the difference. So the United States major is really Societas Republicae Americanos. So that's the legitimate order of government, the imperial divan. And if you're not an heir, you have no claim, doesn't matter what you perfect.
Yeah, IRS is just.
You know, and the Pope is telling you that the best way he can. You know what I mean? So, but let's put it this way.
That's all it is.
The heat is already on, so we ain't gonna be,
Voluntary.
we're not gonna be
You
waiting
signed
for another
1040.
generation to have to work this out.
Voluntary.
This is gonna be worked out this generation.
But they won't let you work if you don't sign it.
The heat is on.
It's a game.
The heat is on.
I don't listen to TV, radio.
Let me see in my, hold on for a
And
minute.
that's the fiction. It says
I'm gonna go lesson
you can work
14.
outside the fiction.
He's giving you here, you're, and when you hear on TV, it's like,
Right.
Yeah, really.
And then, you know about the chakras?
Yeah.
That's the root chakra down here. Y'all know about chakra, that's the root. And it's crazy, the root. We all know about the root chakras. And some of the pimps are actually operating at high
All
levels. of the
right,
root
now
chakra.
let's go to,
Here's an idea.
Secretary Root. And the, charge the affairs. I mean, these are fundamentals. And so, you know, after we go through this, you can just talk about status issues where you are, things that you need to do, but it's mainly concepts. Because the deal of it is the whole operations that you're doing right now is trying to get the heirs to competently start claiming the estate. In other words, they got to step up, and they got to do it competently, and they got to stop calling the European white man, and they got to stop calling the fiat money. All of these things, and you can't keep backpedaling and correcting. They have to be right from the door. That means it has to be part of them. It can't be a front. It can't be where they're just looking for the benefit, and because if they're honorable, you want to keep telling them, don't stop saying these things. Because it's not in their heart. Therefore, it keeps coming out corrupt. And every time it does, it gives them the upper hand. It gives them right of claim of the estate. And this is basically what they've been continuing on. As an example, now September 1950, the House Committee on Un-American Affairs, this is the truth of the Barristers Association. They're actually there to undermine the Republic. And as you can understand now, the Pope has extinguished all their licenses of both the American bar and the British bar. Why? Because he owns them. You understand? And the fact that your so-called black leaders don't deal with this stuff. Now, see, the National Lawyers Guild was organized in 36 by a caucus of Communist Party, United States of America, lawyers assisted by the International Labor Defense and American Agency of Comintern, and that's a Communist International. National Lawyers Guild remains an active affiliate of the International Association of Democratic Lawyers, the DEMON system that was set up in '61, you know, with the corporate operations. And this is where they've been doing all this colorful legislation under the U.S. democracy order, which was set up for the dark priesthood, and that's what's been governing you.
Lawyers know
And
the
so,
law.
yes, and this is where the Pope is telling you, you know, about the Republic. That means, so you must be in honor with those allodial principles. And if it's not in your heart and your mind, logically, you're not going to speak the language. And as soon as you start talking about black, racism, stuff, automatically you're under the codes. And don't think they're going to sit there and have long discussions with you. Once you start coming that way, what they're going to do is remove you. You keep on talking, they're going to disappear you. And if somebody else jumps up and talks like, you can't do that to my boy, they're going to disappear them. Because when due hits the fan, martial law, everyone's expendable. And if you're not of a nation, you have no international law protections. And anybody talk about colors and everything will be gassed immediately or shot immediately, put in a grinder, and put in them disposal things that burn at temperatures that will melt ice. I mean, will melt stone. And then they put them barriers, and you find them all along the highways. They're called trash to steam plants. They're for pulverizing bone. They're not just for burning paper. You notice they don't have a lot of trucks that remove the residuals like they used to?
Yeah. You don't need 15,000 degrees.
Oh, yes.
To burn paper.
Oh, yes.
That's to separate the bones. So they throw this as like, all it is.
Now, this question for lawyers, but you all know that stuff. But let's go to charge the affairs. There's a reversion.
You got one right there after you went to the tunnel in Baltimore.
Reminding everybody so you recognize it, so your concepts will all be right. Roman Curia. All the corporate entities are members of the Roman Curia. So when you deal with any corporation, you're dealing with Sears, Macy's, banks, any of these agencies whatsoever, any of these franchises, they're all members of the Roman Curia. So when you look at the Pope's letter, you understand what he's saying when he's talking about all of their licenses being extinguished. People who know that the Pope owns them all is not confused. People who don't know the real politics are confused. You understand? You're giving this information so that you're no longer naive. You're not supposed to continue to act naive once you've been exposed to this information.
Right, so let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, there's people out there trying to improve their homes, even though it's the bank.
They're
the
improving their sharecropping lot.
Right, okay. But what
They're improving their sharecropping lot. That's what
but they're being denied at the same time. This is what I'm trying to.
Now, because why? This is why. Let's talk about it. Because it's no longer profitable for the banks to generate finance on loans. Why? Because the bonds are dead. In other words, this is why they're doing the House Joint Resolution 2847. What are they doing? Taking people's accounts. They're taking people's finance. What's 2847? Bail in, not bail out. So if you understand that, you understand why. See, the point that I'm making is that these fundamental things, when you know the fundamentals of the politics, none of these things confuse you. They only confuse people that don't understand the politics. You're not supposed to be in that crowd.
They're showing you this mountain.
You're giving this information so that you can be pulled out, so when they start cooking them, you're not out there stupidly marching with them. Meaning you're not supposed to get into these emotional triads. Why are they doing this? And it's supposed to be, you don't get into that stuff. And then they let Trump, like I heard the guy saying on the radio, and it's come down here, jokingly, he said, I already started building a tunnel, and we're putting lights in the tunnel and stuff like that. He's joking. He said, because soon as Trump gets elected, I'm going in the tunnel. He already knows BS. But the deal of it is, that's indicative of somebody that don't really understand what's going on here. An intelligent person that really knows doesn't care one way or another and does not get involved. An intelligent man knows their vote don't even count. They're the only ones that don't know their vote don't count. But an intelligent man, a man who knows the real politics of the world, might be going down, Starbucks and drinking a coffee. And everybody cried out there, yeah, and Hillary, and you know Clinton, and you know the Beetle Fester, and you know, and they do it. And their votes don't even count. They're just going through the motions, swear they got some power. And all they're doing is sanctioning the extortion of their own estate when they should be claiming their estate. This is why the Pope is telling you they're foreign dignitaries representing the United States, corporation, company, minor. It's almost like talking to bricks. It is. What can you say? You know, I mean, some people just, like Harry Tubman said, one of the most difficult things to do is free slaves that don't know they're slaves. But they also don't know that they're ready to be cooked. This is where the real problem is. They think they're going to continue in their ignorance and be allowed to breed. It's become a burden. And so in what you call nationalization, international nationalization of nation states, such persons are expendable. They will be eliminated. They ain't going to get no sandwiches. Well, at least we're going to get bologna sandwich. No, they're not.
So these licenses include mortgage companies too.
Why do you think they was upset? Remember we was there on R Street. And as soon as you change that wire thing to that private bank principle, they're going to tell you about what their lawyer said.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, now hold it. Now this is a third party that ain't present, right?
Yeah.
And then you're supposed to submit to this and sign this other instrument, but they ain't signing this instrument. They got a problem. So when they went there, that's why I went into, not trying to argue, I went into the treaty and constitution.
Well, the whole instrument I drew up was treating.
Yeah, of course. And the point is that you all pretend you all don't understand this, but I know you do. So since you already designated that you're not going to acknowledge, now let's talk law. That's why I went into Constitution and Treaty. Because I already know they know. There's no one that transfers the states here that don't know these rules. Let's look at this. Let's look at this. House Joint Resolution 192, right? All right. And you already know why they killed Tropicana, right? All right. Now let's just go to, all right, let's right here as an example. Now, volume 33, page H 1303. So Tropicana speaking on the floor of the House, right? Now we could go into the introduction of the Treaty of Peace, the Treaty of Verona, etc. Also. Now, Mr. Speaker, we're here now, Chapter 11, members of Congress are official trustees. So you're talking on the state, trust, right? Presiding over the greatest reorganization of any bankrupt entity. He didn't say country, he said entity. In world history, the U.S. government. Now, put this in context with the Post letter that we just read at the beginning. Right? Now, this is 93 he spoke of, but all scholars know he's talking about Louis McFadden's speech on the floor of the House, 1932, 1934, where he exposed the Jesuit order and the Inquisition operations with the Internal Revenue Service, and of course, when he went to visit his daughter in New York, they poisoned him. You know, of course, you already know they killed Tropicana just this past year. September, right?
Last year.
September? All right. And his boy that worked with him want to talk to us, right?
Yeah, I want to talk to
You already know why. All right.
Well,
Now, yeah. Now, but you know why, I know why, we know why. Problem is our people don't know why, and they sit around playing these marching Negro games, don't know they're getting ready to get cooked. And we're trying our best to warn them. And they're dealing with their belief systems and don't know that's mind control. Anyway, so we're going to congressional records, right? So, bankrupt entity in world history, U.S. government, we are setting forth, hopefully, a blueprint for our future. There are some who say it's a coroner's report that will lead to our demise. It is an established fact that the United States federal government has been dissolved by the Emergency Banking Act of March 9, 1933, 48 Statute 1, Public Law 89-719, declared by President Roosevelt being bankrupt and insolvent. House Joint Resolution 192, 73rd Congress in session June the 5th, 1933. Joint resolution to suspend the gold standard and abrogate the gold clause, dissolve the sovereign authority of the United States and the official capacities of all United States governmental officers and department, and is further evidence that the United States federal government exists today in name only. We know it's defunct, we know it don't exist, but these people keep going to these people, give me a apostille list, and I'm going to authenticate the birth certificate, and I'm going to viva fetcher the Dusseldorf. So the Pope's telling them those encumbrances don't apply. And he's the Don. And people keep running after these
Pretty much on your own, you go there.
apples. Here, bite this apple, and this I will give thee. Come up from the mountain. All this I will give you, just curse your God. The same old game. And they keep falling for it. So the Pope himself is coming out and telling you the BS. There ain't no white sovereign Christian, none of this stuff. He tell you this whole fraud is based on what? The commercial
Oppression.
what? What commercial what? Of who? The Pope said, I'm telling you, African Americans. He said nobody else. So who can only be the proper beneficiaries and holder in due course?
The Moors. The indigenous.
Is exactly that.
Moors.
Claim anything else, you're off the platform. Do you understand? This is the trap. But let's go a little further in this, in traffic on speech. And we're going to go to some else, but I just want to go here. Anyway, let's look at this part. The receivers of the U.S. bankruptcy are the international bankers via the United Nations, the World Bank, and the International Monetary Fund. All United States officers, officials, and departments are now operating within a de facto status. He's telling you they're frauds. This is the Florida Congress.
1993.
Now, in name only, under emergency war powers, with the constitutional Republican form of government now dissolved, the receivers of the bankruptcy have adopted a new form of government for the United States. This new form of government is known as a democracy. That's where the Pope is talking about major, minor. Now, if you don't know the difference and you keep mixing that in your conversations, you have just done what? Give them jurisdiction over your estate. This is why when we got into that, they got nervous. They already know. They ain't talking it, but they already know. When we assume they don't know, we're naive. This is why I keep saying, whenever we're talking and you say, well, I'll say this, or I did this, or I did that, but they don't, as soon as you said that, you're now a fraud, and you're in contempt. You're the one that didn't know about your birthright, not them. Your family members are the ones that don't know about their birthright, not that European. Well, I talked to them and they didn't know, and I gave them this and they read that and they act like this. No, you are naive for even making a statement.
They know.
You understand what I'm saying? It's sort of like we just don't want to accept that we've been played.
Yeah, that's important.
You ain't special, you ain't spiritual, you've been had. Accept it. Grow up. And get real and get to work. And honor your mothers and your fathers that your days may be longer upon the earth land, and you can have standing to begin to even make a claim on your estate. But you better be in your proper person. You ain't holding in due course of nothing until you honor your mothers and your fathers. And every man and every woman and even the children must confess their own. They're not excused either. But the children didn't know. They're going to cook them too. And we keep on playing around. See, but this was what had about to happen. You got to start cooking these people because they just don't believe it.
Like they already said, when it gets ugly.
So the Pope is telling them,
People to really,
and he's trying to save his butt. He's trying to get on the right side of history. You understand? That's what's really happening.
Already started.
Like Pew was saying. Well, let's look at this. Let's look at this. He even tells you what? Their coupons as money and currency. Currency is not money. So what happens when these people keep calling currency money? They've let them off the hook. But a money substitute, redeemable currency must promise to pay $1 equivalent in gold or silver money. Isn't that Article 1, Section 10?
Yep. Right, 1 second.
Isn't the abrogation of the gold clause at the root of the coup of 61?
Yep. And 19.
So when you call anything but gold and silver coin money, you've committed a fraud and you've given them a mandate over your estate. And then when you call them white man, you've given them a mandate over your estate. Then you're talking about I'm holding in due course, and I filed a financial statement, and I got a hold of excuse. No, you ain't got crap running your mouth. And this is where the Europeans, who are starting to tell the truth through their sovereignty groups, because the middle class has been dissolved. That's why the administrators tell them you can't use that Constitution as a defense because you're not a party to it. What is he talking about? He's talking about the Knights of Columbus, Ku Klux Klan oath, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Chicago, Illinois, 1854 to 1863. They took on the title of white people that don't damn belong to them, and they gave up their birthright. And now they're trying to enforce that treaty. If you can't prove that you're of Moorish blood, or if you can't prove to be descendants of Jefferson, John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Madison, and persons who have clear, identifiable allegiance to the Republic and the treaty in force that the Pope talked about, you have no claim. And if you've been calling yourself white people, you have no claim. Because that belongs to the Moors. And y'all took it. Well, guess what? All of their estates are now being revenued to them without encumbrance. Ain't the Pope telling you that? Didn't he tell you them bonds that back to U.S. debt is what? Against African Americans. Don't say nobody else does it. So all these people trying to claim these bonds and the CUSIC numbers and the birth certificate that are bonds and everything, if you're not Moorish American, you have no claim. Because the treaty, and he said treaties enforced, didn't he? So the Treaty of Peace and Friendship between the Moors and the United States of America, which George Washington talked about, right? Yeah. So if you're not Moroccan, you're not Al-Moroccan. And if you're not Al-Moroccan, you ain't American. You have no claim. So now, Trump's in trouble talking shit, ain't he?
Well, he's been in trouble.
He just don't know yet. He's talking those principles, and I understand what he's really saying and signal, and what's got everybody scared is that he's going to nationalize. But he's not the authority to nationalize.
He was being arrogant with his chief.
Well, he got a right to be arrogant. See, this is what it is. This is what he's doing. This is what he's doing.
The CEO?
He's talking against the demon operators of the U.S. democracy operations. He's implying that he's going back to the Republic, but he's going to have to prove allegiance on more than one level. And this is why he's saying as soon, and he says it just like he said. He says, right after my inauguration. Why is he saying that? Because he knows it's a done deal. The only way it can be other than that is that they steal the election. But this is also why the Pentagon and also the Manchurians told Hillary and them don't put a hit on him. Because if they do, then they're going. Oh. So this is where the heat's coming from. Wow. You know, so you got to understand what's going on in the background. You understand? Mm-hmm. Now, those who know the real politics know this is what's going on. Those who don't, sitting talking from the concept in their mind, well, he's president of the country. No, they're fighting for contracts, for service contracts. Meanwhile, they're already in a state of breach of trust. Yeah. But the heirs ain't stood up yet, so they're still in what you call gray area. And so you got so many traitors amongst us, so the Manchurian family have released over 6 million perfected assassins, starting to eliminate key people, letting them take free flying lessons, and letting them shoot nail guns in the wall over here, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, swim with the gators. And
what you got about 50 or so that they admit to. So now, so the promise is this. You still have a bunch of toys, you still have advanced weaponry, you still have off-Earth bases and stuff, but all the technology you ain't got. So that's why the Manchurians and the Russians flew them planes around the U.S. fleet in the Gulf over there and shut down all of their electronics, all their communications, all their radar systems, all their advanced weaponry. That's why they're not in the Gulf. Not because they decided to come home to get them ships refitted. No, let's be real.
Yeah, well, I didn't know that. I seen that on YouTube. Yeah. But Kerry was saying, oh yeah, we could have shot that plane down. Thinking, get the fuck out of here. It was 30 feet off the top of the goddamn
That's
ship.
why he's over there asking the Manchurians trying to get some gold. And when they had their meetings, everybody was there, but representatives for the United States Corporation Company.
On YouTube.
They're done. You know what I mean? Now, and so the Manchurians is offering them tons of gold right now to back up. But what they got to do, they got to produce a note that's domestic only, and it must be constitutionally backed. And anything outside, the Manchurians will control. That's why J.P. Morgan sold them that building for $7.20 million, and the building's worth $4 billion. And it has the tunnel going directly to the Federal Reserve, and they're controlling that too. So the game's up. So all these people who keep believing in Rome and won't let Rome go is going to find themselves in a position they really don't want to be in.
Yep.
It just ain't been accelerated yet. But they're all over the world. But the heirs of the estate of the North are mainly eels and days. Now, days are more in the South. You know, they still have right of claim too. They still have right of claim too. And this is where, I think it was Vincente Fox, or Mexico, something like that, a couple of years ago, when they were introducing Bill Clinton at the United Nations, and they introduced him as the American president, and he objected.
Right.
And he says he's American, he's the president of the United States. We're American presidents. So us. You know, this is where America has been used as if it's a country to promote the fraud here with the heirs who think America's a country and think the Europeans are Americans so they can steal your estate. And so these little subtleties make a big difference in your right of claim. This is again why Drawley keep telling these people, if you don't do anything else, declare your nationality. And they're still, well, do I need proof? Well, you know, this tracing, all this other stuff. You know, it's almost like these people, they just don't believe their own bloodline. They're in dishonor. We're so far, this is the third person disorder that we suffer. Or what you call disassociation.
All the way around.
What the Europeans trying to do, before you get clear and confident in your right of claim of a state, they're trying to eliminate or reduce the population for the good of the earth? No. So they can claim your estate.
I have one more question. So this is a text that came from someone I think who's been here. Why, my question is, why, if we are who we are, but why do we have to send information to Geneva, Switzerland?
They don't have to send, well, that's an assumption, isn't it?
And the U.S. Supreme,
Yeah, but that's an assumption, isn't it, on different things they've read?
yes, because she sent this text and she says, I'm reaching out to anyone who are in honor to please guide me, for I do not
All right,
enter under.
now, this is what you do. If she's reaching out to anyone in honor, means that she should be sitting next to you instead of having you as a third person ask the question. But let's slow down.
Okay.
Let's slow down.
Okay.
Until she becomes a part of this information, there's no answer that you can give her or anyone else that will really make sense. Because until she knows the politics for herself, she will accept what you say or what I say conditionally, then question it, then go to someone else and ask whether that's valid, and then go to someone else and ask whether that's valid, because they're looking for the benefit without participation. They must become what they know. It is the duty of every man, woman, and child to confess their own, not for them to look for affirmation through you as a third person to command an answer from someone else that satisfies hers. It is her obligation to confess her own. That's for starters. Now, let's back up a little bit, because I'm going to give you some answers. I'm not going to deny her, I'm just going to give you some answers. One of the reasons why these instruments are sent to anyone is because the issue of booty and prize, and the Attorney General is the comptroller of alien properties. Likewise, when any entry or claim on the estate is made, etc., this is the reason by law and by legal process that the so-called prosecutors are obligated to notify the Attorney General before they can issue a claim to operate in these courts when they're making a claim against your estate. Am I right or wrong, Q?
Right. You're absolutely correct.
No, that's where that's
true.
from. Now, because the different agencies are transmitting agencies on the estate, meaning that instruments that come to your subordinate agencies come through them.
Transmitting utilities.
Yes.
What they become.
And so so when you put them on notice, you're not asking them for anything. You're putting them on notice because constantly that number or QSIC number, that social security number, is used by corporations around the world against that estate, whether you're in the living body or that this body is deceased, it stays active because it's against the Moorish estate. And you can punch in and you can see people's Social Security being used, whether they're dead or
My
alive.
mother's is one.
Now, deal. This is the state, that's the transmitting utility. So these corporate entities are what? Transacting business against that state all the time. What occurs when you put these instruments out and you send them to those primal institutions? You're not necessarily looking for a response from them, and you're not to expect it. You put them on notice. And so this lets them know that you, being the living woman or man and rightful heir of the estate, you understand, are claiming an ex-rel relationship on an information of that transmitting utility, that straw, is where you get the ex-relation from. At that point, they are obligated to stop transacting business on that particular estate. They play dumb, but you put a wrench in the gear. By law, by trust law, when the heir of an estate demonstrates competence and speaks up, by law, the estate must be transferred to them. Knowing that they're rogue and knowing that they're not going to do it, what you've done is you start killing them bonds just by making that communication. And this is back to, once you understand the history and understand how things work politically, you wouldn't have to answer that question. And if these seats weren't empty, they wouldn't have to answer the question from you. If you want a degree, come sit in the seat. Dr. Naila Gilliam has sacrificed and made this room available for the dispensation of this information. If you want to know, come to class. If you don't want to know, don't ask somebody to go do your work for you.
Right. I agree.
They're looking for a quick
Because
fix.
freedom is everybody's job.
Yeah.
Not that I'm denying an answer. But what I am not going to do is
I
try to
agree.
satisfy
100%.
the
Being
question.
here.
I'll answer,
Always.
and I guarantee you, unless she studies, she still don't get it. But go ahead and answer another.
I'm just finish telling you what she said. So she says she didn't understand.
And I understand where she's coming from, but go ahead.
Why Geneva, Switzerland, and the U.S. Supreme Court rejected my name correction / judicial proclamation.
Isn't that an assumption on her part? Did they reject it?
She said I can.
Was she supposed to send her name correction and claim to them without a cover letter explaining notice? Isn't a judicial notice, you're putting them on notice?
That's it, it's just a notice.
That's it. Then, no, she probably sent them expecting some kind of response when that's not its purpose nor function, which means she hasn't really studied that
She said it
document.
came
I'm
back
ready
to
to say that, Brother
It's
Todd.
supposed to come back to her.
I was getting ready to say that, Brother Todd, that she hasn't really read the
It's
document.
supposed to come back to her.
You read them two.
They're not going to put it on file, but they've been put on notice, meaning that they can no longer assume that she's under the Negro Act. Am I correct? Is it not a couple of cases that's in the record with Abraham Lincoln arguing on behalf of an Asiatic who was being prosecuted under Negro Acts, and he issued before the court that he was Moor and not Negro, even though they're the same people, that his status is different? Isn't that an issue? So the issue before the court was his legal status. If he was black, he had no rights. As a Moor, he has rights. It's that simple. Why do you notify them? They assume you're black under the Christian black codes until you proclaim otherwise. Now, the point is, she understood that, she wouldn't ask you those questions. And she wouldn't need an answer, not that she doesn't deserve it. So don't misunderstand, I'm not trying to avoid giving an answer. But what I do kind of reject is trying to satisfy people who ask questions through third parties, rather than take the time to be here. You make the venue available, then be here. Because we give more than enough information that a child could understand. She need not misunderstand anything. She need to damn study. Why do you think the civilized world always say concerning these pickaninnies, and you know where pickaninny come from, right? Picts. We're the Picts. The original people of Ireland and England. We're the Dubs.
Wow.
And the children are called little children. It's called pickaninny, means little child. Pequeño. And so they used to feed them to the alligators for the priests. Do you understand? And so they say, don't worry about them little pickaninnies. They will never compete because they can't read. And the ones who can, won't. This is why when you see the pattern of so-called black culture, they're always asking what somebody thinks about something or what somebody believes. They won't do the facts. Just like I went here to the expatriation, right? United States, right? And it says clear as day, Morocco. And it says the Moors lost their nationality only by becoming naturalized. But you ask them about Ulysses Grant and the alteration of the Naturalization Act of 1790 until 1870, with the Naturalization Act that's mentioned in Free White Persons, that tells you white person don't mean Caucasian race. You talk about Ulysses Grant and Horace Greeley, they wouldn't even know what you're talking about. But yet they're always talking about racism and color games. They're talking about light-skinned, orange-skinned black people, and then you ask them about Frederick Johann Blumenbach and Carlos Linnaeus and the U.S. Census Bureau and the code system. They wouldn't know what you're talking about. Start talking about, that's your opinion, that's that Moore stuff. And that's the codes that run their damn life. They talk about they're Christians and never read the Christian black codes that destroy their families. This is the problem that we have. Then they're always asking other people's opinion for authority because they won't study for the damn selves. Then you have people who sacrifice to give them the information freely, and they'll go to lodges and stuff like that. Like, as an example, years ago, Emily Ford, which is a wealthy European, who writes for a Higher Truth magazine, they asked Arlene, could she come to the round table because she was wondering whether or not, Europeans were allowed. I said, this is an open forum. She said, you're national. There ain't nothing hidden here. Because Phil Marsh and them, the Europeans, they was charging, $1,500 for you to walk into the class. That people get here for free. $1,500 to walk into the class. Wow. And that's for starters. In New York, in Harlem, $3,600. For papers we were giving to people freely. Why do you think I put them on the website for people to get freely? Them same proclamations. In New York, they're selling for $3,600. They just changed them up a little bit. And here you making this venue free for them, and they can't come, but they can ask you to ask somebody in honor. Why don't you have honor and bring her little butt here? I'm not trying to be hard, but I'm just saying these seats should be filled. You should be have to order seats.
Yeah.
So we're throwing them a life raft. They ain't even paying for it, and they don't appreciate it. Why do you think Europeans always say about niggers, stop messing with us. Go to your nigger leaders that keep putting y'all in slavery. And even right now, Maya called me the other day, yesterday, Maya called me, and she said, because she deals with social media and all that stuff. I don't deal with that stuff, which you already know. And she says, Europeans start writing on the thing about these people that was marching yesterday in Philly, and other people talking about reparations and all this stuff. And these Europeans are starting to write articles, and they're saying, well, why don't they ask for reparations of the so-called black kings and queens and black slave traders who sold their people to the Europeans, but they want to sue the Europeans for reparations? Why don't they sue the black leaders for reparations? That's the kind of articles they're writing now. In other words, they're trying to get heat off of them, but in doing so, they were actually telling you the dynamics of the real operations. And I told her, I said, I'm going to take that emotional. I said to her, isn't that in fact has some validity, and should it not be avoided? It should not be avoided. It should be addressed, just like all other things. Because if you're going to charge somebody with something, you yourself have to be in honor. You can't call someone else dishonor when you're not willing to discuss things that are less than beautiful concerning your own. So now you're just going to have to pull out these, call out these Negro 501c3 March and Keep Hope Alive leader guys who've been promoting this color thing and stop acting like they're innocent. So if you want to charge the Europeans, you want to charge them too. Yeah. So now we've discovered that we're kind of like, sort of like equally guilty. Because the rule is, in the common law, that every man, woman, and child must confess their own. It doesn't say what nation you're from. So if you want to complain about your lost estate, why don't you start being yourself? I mean, it's sort of like that. They want the benefit, and they don't want to do the work.
Yep.
You know, and they can't say this information has not been dispensed. Because at different times, you had no seats. Wasn't it like that, Dr. Naila?
No seats.
Past tense, you had no seats, meaning that it was all filled, sometimes standing on the wall.
That's right.
And what happens, there's nothing wrong with it because people are supposed to grow, but they're supposed to tell others. But people started what? Seeking the benefits once they begin to understand these things and trying to claim their estates without complete study. Then they keep on trying to start all over with someone else because they're embarrassed to come back and admit they didn't get it. Isn't that the case? And then they get taken. Now, where's the honorable ones? You see the problem that we have? How about you being honorable and helping to build this thing? If somebody is willing to put their time and effort in to see that you get what others have taken death oaths to get, and they get it in allegorical stories, signs, and symbols, and have to figure it out. And then when they do, they can't even tell. And we're giving it to them freely, blunt, 360 degrees, and the seats are empty. So does the rest of the civilized world feel sorry for black niggers? No, they do not. Nobody likes black people because they're damn hypocrites and they're ungrateful. So let them cook. That's how they feel. However, we don't, because if we didn't love them, we wouldn't continue to sacrifice to get this work done. Therefore, we know that most likely the truth is going to come from the mouth of the babes, and that most of these generations will be cooked. And at the last minute, start that Lord, Lord, Lord stuff, but their hearts are far removed. They will be expended, but they won't release because they think they're going to get a benefit from Rome. But they're going to put them cards in the machines, and the machines are going to go burp. And then they're going to try some other method. Then they're going to try some other method. And they keep going on this merry-go-round trying to get a hold of this estate. Yeah, right. There is no encumbrance. No, Raleigh said, do not put a burden on my Moors. And what do when they get this information? They start selling packages and selling the birthright and trying to block these people out their birthright. And then some of them grand sheiks and temples trying to own the birthright. Well, all of them is going to pay for what they're doing. And for them European bankers, the bench is the bank and the bank is the bench. They're starting to disappear. And so now the Pope's coming out, y'all should stop this stuff. Oh yeah, well, you should have said that before. However, so be it. Because the path is narrow, and there'll be a few on it. And when this thing crashed, they're going to find out all the spookiness that they saw in them books in the Bible, the Septuagint, Pentateuch, Hexacol, is real life, and it's Kabbalistic. It ain't spooky. And then at the last minute, when they see the prosecutor, and man, his face looks familiar. Ain't that Satan? Oh, he's the prosecutor. All I did was call, you followed. So even the traitors are going to get a rude awakening. But it ain't going to be like they think it is. And so Drawley said, even some of these Europeans are helping me. The Negro problem is your problem. Why aren't you helping me? And what they're going to do, wait till the last minute thinking they're looking for some spoils in the game, and then they're going to look for benefits after everybody else do the work. Well, they can't pick because they can't get their fingers dirty. If there's any left, if somebody wants to share with them, fine. But they ain't sitting at the table. Go ahead,
Well,
bro.
Taj, so what about this, the Karen Moody's thing, the global reset?
Karen Hudis?
Yeah.
Same thing with Karen Hudis. Look at Karen Hudis, right? Karen Hudis, she was operating as a lawyer for the World Bank. right?
Yeah,
And she's tight, and Dr. Naila shared her information with us a couple years ago. But let's look at the reality. Just like many other Europeans, talking about the Republic and all this stuff, when they were deep in their so-called jobs, pulling down 6 figures, they ain't had nothing to say. Then when they got fired, all of a sudden they're moral. All of a sudden they understand things they didn't understand before. Oh, like really? Come on. You know, let us not be naive. Noble Raleigh said, I'm gonna make this European tell you the truth. Because you already know you ain't gonna believe him. You know. Now all of a sudden they tell him, right?
But she
All
does.
this telling comes from people because the middle class is being dissolved. They've been thrown under the bus. They feel betrayed because the Black Codes, the Negro Act, the Act of 61, solidified in 1871, the secret corporate entity operative, the institutionalization of peonage and slavery, and the closing of the Bureau of Refugees and Abandoned Lands that was applied to the heirs of the estate, the African Americans, i.e. Moorish Americans, who were branded Negro, black, and colored, and who were put in bondship and bottomry instruments, including the marriage certificate, birth certificate, etc. They wasn't expecting it to be turned on them. Oh, now it is. And so now we have people like Karen Hughes. What else do you want to know?
But she is telling the truth.
No, I'm just making that point.
Right, this gold thing that was supposed to be appropriated for the sort of
SDRs,
countries wouldn't go to war or whatever from poverty or whatever like that. Are you familiar with that? I read something that she had put out that had something to do with the Philippines.
yes, the gold in the Philippines, buried in the Philippines, etc.
They haven't got
Neil Keenan being put in charge of distribution, protected by the Manchurian families, etc. I know. Yeah.
And of course,
However,
no safe
However, no, it's not that that's not true. Not that that's not related. It is somewhat true. The whole deal is them putting themselves in the forefront in a position of honor. Meaning that, it's like Drew Ali said, before, right? He said, before I brought you back, the truth about your name, your nationality, and your lost estates, nobody was telling you anything. Now that I brought back the truth of your lost estate, your name and your nationality, and the truth of your birthrights, now everybody's trying to tell you what Islam is and what Islam is not. They did not tell you anything before, let them not tell you anything now. It does not mean don't listen to them, because he told you he's going to make them tell the truth. But don't give them the respect of honor, because they weren't telling you before. Let's put this to rest. When Malik was marching around for the Nation of Islam, talking to black and white and the devil stuff, and that French Muslim schooled him, and they couldn't buy him off, and they knew he was going to tell them they murdered him, didn't they? Likewise, when Clarence left, and he started Nation of Gods and Earth, and gave some of the adeptus degrees in the mathematics, getting the people away from the mysticism system, and they murdered him, didn't they? Then Khalid, who just, year and a half, couple years ago, as soon as he started telling these people they're Moors, then all of a sudden he has seizures in the hotel room and stuff like that. This stuff is never ending. All I'm saying to you is this. They didn't tell you anything before, don't let them tell you anything now, which means not that you don't listen to them, but listen to them, but not with any honor and authority. Listen to learn, and understand that they're dealing with sour grapes. They're trying to tell on the system now because they ain't got no JOB. It's like they won't let her in the building. Hasn't she been reassigned? She was reassigned, and they still stopped her at the door, didn't they? Huh? Why? Because the cabal is worldwide. So the Manchurians got to come in and start unseating them, don't they? So every method that was done to try to get back to the right estate is being denied. Aren't they rogue?
Yeah.
Didn't the Pope tell you that they're rogue? So these people that keep on doing all these processes, thinking they're gonna get a hold of this CUSIC number and this bottomless pit credit account, isn't Germany their #1 ally? Didn't they send representatives to to Manhattan to see their gold? Didn't they give them the finger, send them home, and 2 months later the buildings drop? That's their #1 ally. So what make you, me, or anyone think you file some UCC that they're gonna honor that? Didn't they kill Gaddafi to steal his gold? Didn't they kill Saddam Hussein to steal his gold? Didn't they kill Chavez to steal his gold, though they didn't get it all? At what point these people here don't get it? You understand what I'm saying to you?
I do.
And so now what's happening is that the Asiatic nations have come together called the Mint Nations. Those are original, what you call the true American states. That's this side. And the BRICS nations, that's the Asiatics on this side, are merging to starve the beast. He's bad. I'm gonna eat your snakes. Oh, please, he's got 7 heads and 10 horns and shit. And everybody's scared, right? Ah, I'm gonna get you. And everybody's scared. So they say, oh, you can't beat the beast. Don't feed the bears. Oh, now listen to the bears. And they limping and all this stuff went on. What you been doing, feeding the bears? Yeah, I made a contract with them, see, because I'm trying to get a hold of this. Did they honor it? Looked like you lost weight. You just came from Jenny Craig. You know, my arm is going this, so I lost weight. The beast didn't get it. They keep making deals with this man. So, the Asiatic nation says, we got a good idea. We can't beat the beast, so let's knock the legs out from the platform that the beast instruments are standing on. It can't, the dollar is not going to collapse. It's going to rise and disappear. Is that complex? Only to people who don't understand the system. Means starving. So you got this bad dog, junkyard dog, like this, right? It's on a big chain and stuff. And the chain can reach over in the corner, so don't even go over that fence. Don't go over that one, because he can get over there too. Hey, man. Right? Stop feeding him. Next week, rah, rah. The next week. The next week.
Yeah, he making you
Next
that.
week.
Yeah, he making you that.
And this is what the Chinese are doing to them. They're hitting them in the what? Petrodollar. What is the petrodollar? That's what Zygmunt, Brzezinski, and Nixon set up in '71 to force all nation states to transact their business in the private Federal Reserve note in order to even trade in commerce. So they're killing the platform. That's what the renminbi hubs are that you've seen in Los Angeles. That's why them ships was out there with last Christmas's stuff that wasn't taking all the stock and putting it to the front shelf, lining up. It was kind of full. Ain't nothing behind them, but that's why you see Target close in Canada. Move all their stock down here so it can look like they're still happening.